we're just going to have to talk about it. What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about The Last of Us TV show on HBO Max. So I completed the game and the show in about less than a week, and I am unwell. Of course, I knew about the hype. I knew how invested people were. I just did not expect to feel all the feels that I felt and to go through the motions of it. It was phenomenal. The game was phenomenal. The show, in my opinion, was also phenomenal. Personally, I don't think that The Last of Us really needs any introduction because it's insanely popular. But to summarize, a deadly fungus takes over the world, turning people into basically zombies. And we're introduced to Joel, who has suffered a major loss at the beginning of the game. 20 years after the outbreak starts, he crosses paths with this orphan, Ellie, who is immune to the disease. The main objective of the game is to basically get Ellie to be transported to the Fireflies because they believe that she holds the key to figuring out how to create a vaccine for this disease. I'm just going to mention it right here. There's going to be a lot of spoiler talk in this video. So as I mentioned before, this was my very first time playing The Last of Us Part 1, and I absolutely loved the story. However, if you know anything about me, I really dislike survival horror games. I'm basically too kitten to play. I've tried many times to play different types of Resident Evil games, and I'm never able to do it. So I am so proud of myself for even getting through The Last of Us because it is a survival game and it was very scary for me. I'm just gonna kind of gloss over the casting, but I do want to say I think the casting was perfect. I don't have any complaints about it. I know before the show even came out, people were having doubts about the girl who played Ellie, which is stupid in my opinion, and she was great. Pedro Pascal was great. Everybody was so spot on and amazing in the show. It was just so good. So let's start talking about some of the similarities and some of the differences between the game and the show. The order in which Ellie and Joel encounter different people and different events from the game is pretty much a carbon copy in the show. I really did like that they kept the integrity of the game in the show, but they also knew when to add new little details that we really didn't see in the game. I mean, we see it from the very beginning of episode 1 when they give us a flashback of the 1960s talk show. We're also given another flashback to the origins of the cordyceps in Indonesia, which was also really interesting. I also really liked that we got a little sneak peek of the reason why Ellie is immune, and it shows that her mother was obviously bit while she was in labor with Ellie. I'm not sure if that was ever established before the show, but I like that we did get some sort of explanation as to why she is immune. Also, the actress who played Ellie's mom in that scene is the original voice actress of Ellie in the games, which was pretty cool to see. And these are the necessary added details that I'm talking about. They give more dimension to what we're going to see in the show, and it does work well with the overall story that we already know. If anything, it enhances it. There are also some other changes that were made in the show that don't necessarily change the plot of anything, but it was just interesting to see what they decided to switch around. One example would be the way that Tess died. She still got infected, but the scene just went quite differently. And obviously, I don't expect them to keep every little thing the same in the show, but it's just interesting to see what they did decide to change up. Another big change came in episode 3, where we were introduced to Bill, and that is extremely different from the game, but it doesn't do anything to really change the plot. I actually really enjoyed this change because I thought it gave a lot more dimension and insight into Bill's character, and the objective of why Bill is in the story is the same. Joel and Ellie need a car. So we still get that, we just get a whole different backstory. If they took a carbon copy of what you went through in the game when you met Bill and were looking for the car parts with him and fighting off infected near the school, I kind of feel like it was going to be a very tedious episode. I'm glad that they did something more with his character and with Frank's character. I thought it was really great. I think we all know why people were really mad about it, let's be honest. Another decent change that was made in the show was David. Also, let's talk about the fact that David was even more disgusting and creepy in the show. I was horrified. In the game, we basically know that he is a part of a bigger group of people and they end up being cannibals. And he's just presented to us as a very twisted, sick person. In the show, he is 1,000 times worse. We see that he's still in charge of a group of cannibals. However, he is kind of their religious figurehead, and he basically has somewhat of a cult-like following. He even admits it. Also, to make matters worse, a majority of his followers don't even know that they're eating human flesh. Only a small number of his closest followers are aware of this, and it's just so creepy. The Henry and Sam story was also altered quite a bit, and I think that they did make good changes with this. However, the leader of the Pittsburgh Fireflies can go to hell. I hated her so much, which probably means that she did a good job in acting because she was so annoying to me. They also made Sam a lot younger than he was in the game, and he's also deaf, so it just made everything a lot more devastating at the end. Another interesting little change in this storyline is that Ellie actually knew that Sam got bit and she tries to save him. She actually takes some of her blood and wipes it on his wound because she thinks that that's going to stop him from turning. And when it doesn't, she's very disappointed, obviously, and she kind of questions whether or not she really is the key to figuring out how to save people. This little addition of this really, I think, gives me more questions than answers because we already are questioning whether or not Joel makes the correct decision at the end of the game by saving her from getting the surgery. So had Ellie gone through with that surgery, would she have even been the answer that everyone is looking for? And this is the last little difference that I'm going to be bringing up, but the whole Joel getting impaled at the university does not happen in the show. Instead, he is stabbed in the same location that he was impaled in the game. I'm not exactly 100% sure why they changed this. The only thing that I can really think of that makes more sense is that maybe it was too complicated of a stunt for them to pull off in the show. Now that we discussed some of the differences between the game and the show, let's talk about all of the similarities. One of the most obvious similarities has definitely got to be the set design, the aesthetics, the world building that we see in the show. Looking at this show, there is no doubt that this is the Last of Us universe. There are even certain scenes that look like they were straight up taken out of the game. And then let's also talk about the fact that the last episode was so similar to the end of the game. Holy crap, the hospital scene. If you would have shown me that set and asked me what game you think it's from, 100% The Last of Us. It was almost a carbon copy. It was really crazy. And of course, costumes were another thing that I thought that they really got on point. Most, if not all, of the clothing that we see the characters wear look identical to their characters in the game. Even the little details down to Ellie's backpack with her keychain are pretty similar. Honorable mention, Marlene's layered tank top look. And the most obvious of obvious similarities between the game and the show is by far the dialogue. There are tons of videos on YouTube of people doing side-by-side comparisons of scenes, and a lot of the dialogue is exact. The one episode that really sticks out in my mind of being pretty much a carbon copy of the game, is the final episode. The pacing is the same, the dialogue is almost exactly the same. Everything about the end of the game is perfectly translated into the series. Also, seeing the story that we know from the game played out in real life made it more emotional. And I was already very emotional playing the game. Watching the show, it was even worse. Overall, I'm so happy that I played through the game for the first time immediately before watching the show. I think that having it fresh in my mind was such a smart idea, and I recommend that even if you have played the game before, to do a little bit of like a refresher and play through it before seeing the show. It's so good. So that is everything I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're looking for something else to watch, click here to watch my last video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.